IVs. Yeah, this is an I and a V, not a Roman numeral for 4. Sorry, Rocky movies. This I and V together stand for individual value, and it's one of the fundamental concepts of competitive Pokemon. Anyone who has ever dabbled into competitive Pokemon has no doubt hopped over to Pokemon Showdown and seen a bunch of 31s filled into the IV categories.
Whoop-de-doo! What does it all mean, Basil?
And why do competitive players sometimes use less than 31 IVs and sometimes none at all? Well, that's what we're tackling today here at the Bridge 4 Games VGC Academy. Hello students, welcome back to the VGC Academy here at Bridge 4 Games. My name is Professor Hickory, and today we're going to be talking about IVs, or individual values. What are they, and why are they so important? Well, today we're taking a deep dive into this extremely important aspect of competitive Pokemon. Back in Gen 1, instead of the IV system we have today, we had DVs. These stood for determinate values. The idea was to have a Pokemon's strength determined by its potential at birth, with other factors like training coming later. We're not going to dive into DVs since really it's just going to make things more confusing, and once Ruby and Sapphire came along, DVs went the way of the dinosaurs and were replaced with the current IV system we have today. So how does a number translate into potential? Well, let's take a look. Each stat between HP, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed has its own IV that can range anywhere between 0 and 31. These are determined when a Pokemon hatches from an egg and can be passed down from a parent Pokemon to its offspring. This means that good genes, or in the case of Pokemon, good potential, can be passed on to future generations. So then how does this number make a stat? Well, calculators out, it's math time. Now to come up with a stat for a Pokemon, the game takes an IV and plugs it into this equation for HP, and this equation for the other 5 stats. Yeah, I know it's a lot to take in. The key takeaways here are that a Pokemon's base stats, IVs, and EVs, more on that in a future video, all work together to come up with a Pokemon's stat values. Leave it to Pokemon to take the official position that neither nature or nurture is stronger, and that a mix of both is what makes animals what they are. Since all these numbers are combined before being multiplied and divided, the higher an IV means the higher the stat will be. Now I'm going to be honest with you and let you in on a little professor secret. Not many people remember exactly how to calculate stats. The important thing to keep in mind is that the higher the IV, the higher the stats will be. And this is why it makes sense that when you build a brand new team, the default is 31 IVs across the board for all 6 stats. After all, maxed out IVs mean that a Pokemon can hit harder and faster, and take a lot more hits than a random Pokemon you'll find in a normal playthrough of Pokemon Sword and Shield. The 2 easiest ways to get Pokemon with a perfect 31 IVs in all their stats is to either breed them from parent Pokemon with 5 or 6 perfect 31 IVs using a Destiny Knot, or to simply use a bottle cap. While breeding is certainly time consuming, it does give you the options to customize things however you want. You can give your Pokemon egg moves or even specific natures that you may want. However, if you just want to max out all of your IVs as quick as possible, bottle caps have you covered. At level 100, you can use a bottle cap to bring 1 stat from a Pokemon all the way up to 31 IVs, or you can use a gold bottle cap to bring all of them up to 31 IVs. This process is known as hyper-training and has really made the competitive Pokemon scene a lot more accessible to newer players. Now we could make entire videos about both of these topics alone, so we're not going to be diving too far into them today. Just remember that more IVs mean bigger stats, and your best friends are breeding and bottle caps. So if bigger IVs mean bigger stats, why do some players run 0 IVs on their Pokemon? Yeah, they do this on purpose. In fact, some players spend literally hours or days resetting their games to get legendaries with 0 IVs in particular stats. But you're probably asking yourself why they don't just use a bottle cap to fix their IVs. After all, I said it was your best friend, right? Well, that's an issue with the current Pokemon games right now. You see, there's a ton of ways to make your IVs maxed out, but there's very few ways to do the opposite. This means that usually 0 IVs are going to take some work to get. So why are they so desirable? Well, let's think about the strategies that are common in competitive VGC as a whole. Can you think of any time when being slower would actually be an advantage in competitive Pokemon? That's right, Trick Room. Under Trick Room, Pokemon who are slower move first, and faster Pokemon move last. It turns the whole dynamic of the game on its head. When using this strategy, you want your Pokemon to be as slow as possible, so under Trick Room they're as fast as possible. And making your Pokemon slow begins with IVs. Now, I know what you're thinking. But Professor, I've seen 0 IVs in attack before. Why would they want to do that? Now on a special attacking Pokemon, the attack IVs really aren't that important. After all, they're not going to be even using their attack stat in the game. This is one of the tricks you can use to make getting your Pokemon a little bit easier. If you just want to make your stats really big and get your Pokemon ready for VGC, you probably don't need 31 IVs in all of your stats. You only need to worry about the stats that are going to matter in battle. Physical attackers don't need good special attack, and vice versa. But why go all the way to 0 then? Well, ever hear of a little move called Foul Play? It's a very nasty Dark-type attack that uses the defending Pokemon's attack stat in damage calculation. Now this move is somewhat uncommon, but it does see play in VGC, and being able to prevent that little bit of excess damage can mean the difference between your Pokemon being KO'd or surviving an attack, meaning that it could be the difference between you losing or winning a game. And then there's confusion. As every kid who ever ventured into Mount Moon can tell you, confusion is a pain in the butt. If you're confused, there's a 50% chance that on your turn, you're going to hit yourself in confusion instead of doing your normal move for the turn. The damage that this does is based on the attack stat of the confused Pokemon. Smaller stats mean less damage, and even though confusion isn't a common tactic in VGC, the benefits drastically outweigh the cost of zeroing out an IV attack stat. Therefore, feel free to keep the IV attack stats of your special attackers as low as possible. And lastly, that brings us to all the IVs in the middle, the 4s and the 28s. Why would players want to use these too? Well, aside from the fact that
only a Sith deals in absolutes,
there can be some pretty unique strategies that come out of a Pokemon using an IV other than 0 or 31. Back in 2020, Aaron Cybertron Zhang used an Alolan Marowak with only 4 speed IVs. Why would he want to do that? To outspeed other Alolan Marowaks since they always one-hit KO each other. You see, at the time, Alolan Marowak was always using min speed. It would have 0 IVs and a hindering nature. The issue became that under Trick Room, when most of the Marowaks were getting ready to attack, there would be a speed tie, and it would be left up to chance who would attack first. So Cybertron made the decision to give its Marowak a few IVs. This meant that outside of Trick Room, it would always attack first, with a concession of always going second under Trick Room. Removing the element of chance from his games led to much more consistent records for him at the time. Another example is that team that Blaine and Tom built for VGC Series 10. Rillaboom and Indeedee both have the exact same base speed stat, and typically they don't carry any speed EVs. Since the slower terrain setter is the terrain that lasts, Tom and Blaine opted to give Rillaboom less than 31 speed IVs to ensure it always underspeeds Indeedee female, meaning the grassy terrain will always win out over psychic terrain. This ensured that Rillaboom would be able to do a lot more damage and would be able to grassy glide every time. So there you have it, everything about IVs and why maxing them out isn't always the right call. While this video may seem somewhat basic for a more seasoned VGC player, the goal of VGC Academy is to make the VGC format accessible for everyone and to bring new players into this amazing, amazing game. IVs are an incredibly important part of competitive Pokemon, and a resource like this one is invaluable to new players looking to figure out how to get into Pokemon. If you like this video and you like the VGC Academy series, please make sure that you hit the thumbs up button and share it with anybody you know looking to get into competitive VGC. And if you want to join our VGC Academy, you're in luck. Enrollments are always open. All you need to do is subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to make sure that you never miss a class. For the Bridge4 Games Pokemon VGC Academy, I've been Professor Hickory, signing off. Thank you all so much for being with me here today. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I will see you all next time in class.